Welcome to the Biggleswade Town Centre Management Committee meeting on Tuesday, the 15th July 2025. Following a reminder to meeting attendees that this is a formal meeting, I can advise that members of the public will be given an opportunity to speak during the public open session, but not at other times. The meeting is being filmed, and by being present, attendees are deemed to have agreed to be filmed and to the use of those images and sound recordings. I can advise that attendees should not disclose any personal information of individuals, as this would infringe the data protection rights of that individual. May I please ask everyone to mute their microphones when not speaking. Okay, right. Number one, apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies?
No, but there's only one person missing, Councillor Skilton.
Right. Just Councillor Skilton. I think, is he online or? No? Okay, noted. Number two, declarations of interests. Is there any pecuniary or non-pecuniary interests that need to be logged? No. Excellent. Number three, chairman's announcements. The only announcement is that obviously this is my first meeting, so hopefully it will all go smoothly. And furthermore, in relation to the recent Victory Day celebrations, they were put on very well and very successful event. So yeah, just like to thank fellow staff for putting that on. Number four, we go to public open sessions. Is there? No one's here, no one online. Okay. Number five, invited speakers. We have none. Number six, members' questions. Do we have any members' questions? Excellent. No. Okay. Number seven, minutes and recommendations of meetings. For members to receive the minutes of the Town Centre Management Committee meeting held on the 15th of April at the Biggleswade Town Council offices. What I propose we do is do the matters arising and outstanding, and we'll check page by page for both together, if that's okay. So, and check for accuracy, both together. So page. Starting from page 7 for is there any matters arising? Yeah, and for accuracy. Yeah. No. Number 8, page 8, again, check for accuracy and if there's any matters arising. Page 9, check for accuracy and any matters arising. Oh, sorry.
So,
Councillor Woodhead, yes.
Thank you, Councillor Patel. Just in terms of 9B, the business forum, we there is obviously the next one is coming up next Friday. So that's in terms of, I guess, a matter arising. We looked at it obviously last year. There was a report reflecting on that, and obviously that's been taken forward this coming Friday, which I think is you know, a good success, and we'll see how that goes next week.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Page number 10, check for accuracy and any matters arising. Yes.
Just seems the appropriate point to mention that Wade Fest for next year is in planning. They held their first inaugural meeting on Sunday, the 6th of July. They're going round again. We are not funding it. We are supporting, not delivering.
Okay, thank you. Page 11 for
Chairman, if I may, has that been something that the members of the council have agreed that we're not supporting?
Would you like to respond?
I think it depends on your definition of supporting. We are not leading on it, and we are not funding it. I think to be more accurate.
Might have come back again then. Has that been decided by members of the council?
Well,
That is my direction from the Chief Executive.
Councillor Knight.
I wasn't alas at this meeting, but I'm just looking at the resolution. The members authorise officers to collaborate with Wadefest organisers to support the development of the event into an annual community-led event. That the committee requests officers advise Wadefest on the benefits of forming a legal entity. So there seems to be something in the minutes indicating a decision was taken that we should support it.
it is also under 9B on this paper as well. So whether we've got the cart before the horse there, I don't quite know, but let's see where we get to in 9B.
Okay, thank you. Page 11 for accuracy and matters arising. Page 12 for accuracy and matters arising. Page 13 for accuracy and matters arising. No. Excellent. Right. Okay, items for consideration, number 9. So 9A, parking update for members to receive and consider a report from the Community Development Manager.
Thank you. There have been some developments on the parking situation and on the new parking machines and their installation. They are far from flawless at the moment. We do have problems with the software and also with contacting their senior executives who are slow, should we say, to respond to our questions, the inquiries and resolution. I did a quick audit of the parking machines this afternoon. The Dan Albone one is out of order. There's too many things wrong with it. All the other ones work within limitations, which is that there are contradictions between what it says on the screens and what the actual conditions are. So that is to be resolved rather with Flowbird, who I shall be writing to tomorrow with a detailed list of faults, asking them to resolve them yet again. This has been rumbling on for getting on for a couple of months now, and we're deeply dissatisfied with it. Moving on from that stock take of things as they are at the moment, there is salvation in a system called Ringo. Now, Ringo was a separate company, which now I think has taken over Flowbird that way round rather than the other way. And the Ringo system works on a pay-as-you-go app straight from your phone, has no moving parts, is independent of the standard phone mast networks, would incur no additional charges to us. It's very much the same charges as we pay at the moment through the Flowbird system. It does not use QR codes, so there's no potential for fraud there. And all in all, it seems like a low maintenance, largely fault-free system. I say no moving parts, entirely electronic, independent of the phone mast system. Costs are comparable with the existing system, and it would seem to be the way to go in future. So I think it would be a lot more reliable and a lot less flaws with it.
Thank you, Councillor Knight.
Thank you for your report. So I was very involved in the procurement process, and obviously we went through a tender process for the different suppliers, and obviously Flowbird were the better of the tenders. At the time, the position of council was very clear that we required a solution that allowed members of the public to continue to use cash. And unless there's a change in that policy, I think that's a mandatory requirement. So I don't think we should be exploring anything that would not support that requirement unless we change that policy. It sounds a bit like we're potentially suggesting this app could replace the machines. I guess I remind everyone this was a significant piece of capital expenditure, and we shouldn't walk away from that. They need to be made to work, or Flowbird need to give us a refund and take the machines away. Don't mind which. The signal strength So that doesn't quite add up. I smell a rat. So I read this. So I went and stood in Rose Lane with my phone. And I remembered during the procurement process, the supplier said it's a multi-network SIM. Will work on any network. Assured us it would be fine. I get 5 bars of 5G on my phone. It's nothing special in Rose Lane. So I just don't buy that. Maybe they're using faulty modems. Maybe they're not using the multi-SIM they said they would use. But 5 bars of 5G in Rose Lane car park. So there's no signal problem. Obviously, every time there's a failure and we put the machines out of order, we lose revenue. Do we have any idea how much revenue we're losing yet? I mean, if not, I guess, it's a burden, but we need to look at the average revenue, that we need to understand the number of days we've had to suspend the parking regulations and enforcement, and we could probably estimate how much revenue we're losing. And I suggest perhaps we need to put that to Flowbird and demand some compensation if the contract supports that. Now, the problem is if we did have an app, I think because we have a requirement to pay cash, even if the machines are out of order, if someone has to have a smartphone, and when we went through the procurement process, one of the requirements was you don't have to register to use the app. I tried looking at the Ringo app. The first thing it says is log in or register. So immediately I can't do anything without logging in or registering. But even if that worked, if the machines don't work, I don't think we can operate the car parks, because if someone doesn't have a smartphone and they only have cash, they can't pay. So we couldn't give them a ticket. That would be wrong. So in my mind, in no way does an app replace the need for a machine. It may be convenient for some people as an option, but I don't think it's a replacement for the machines, which is why it was a requirement to have reliable machines. The other thing about the app, when we looked at an app and we did demo it and we tried it and we all sat here and used it, the app was tightly integrated with the machines. So the idea was I could get my free hour or 2 hours, and then I could come into town, have a cup of coffee, think, oh, I need a bit more time, and I could top it up. And that, again, was a requirement. This report suggests this new app is loosely coupled, and I wonder if it would support that functionality. But to my mind, if you've parked and you've done it on the kiosk, you should be able to add an hour within the original time constraints. So, I mean, it feels to me like it's premature for us to be talking about an app replacing the terminals. The terminals need to work. There should be a contractual obligation to ensure that they work, and we have a requirement to take cash, and people must be able to pay by cash at all times. But I do ask that we start to keep a record of the lost revenue, please.
Do you want to go first?
I think, yeah, I will respond quickly if you don't mind. In terms of loss of revenue, we officers have already estimated that, and we've put that to we've complained to Flowbird, the highest level, dealing with some directors at Flowbird at the moment. Unfortunately, we've not received any response from them. They often refer us to our terms and conditions, which is the contract, and the maximum loss of revenue we can generate from them is only just under 300 for the whole of for 12 months anyway. So the only solution is for them to resolve the ongoing issues. In terms of Ringo, it will be on the new app. It will be on top of the existing machines. So the plan is not to get rid of the existing machines. This is just an additional. And another benefit is, in case the existing machines are not working, then members of the public can use the app to pay for their parking.
But just to come back on that, my point is, if the machines aren't working, if I only have a cash, I can't pay. If I can't pay, we can't have enforcement. So I don't think the app helps us in the event the machines are out of order. I don't think it helps.
Councillor Orban.
Okay, right, thank you. As far as the mobile signal is concerned, I have a feeling they were using 2G to communicate for communications. So I don't know if something's happened to the 2G system, but that's just a question. Can we be assured that the Ringo system will communicate effectively with the system that CBC uses for checking the parking?
That would have to be a requirement, much in the same way as we have a contract at the moment. The Ringo system would work in parallel with the existing systems. There's no intention of discontinuing cash payments. I think that's an essential requirement. It will continue to go through the Flowbird system, however prone to breakdowns and flaws it is. The problem that you then get, and I agree, there's a contradiction. If you can't pay by one system, you can't pay by any system. So therefore, one thing goes down, the whole system is offline and it's all suspended.
So just following on from Councillor Alban, in relation to, so the Ringo system would need to be connected to the CBC enforcement, right? Because from what I'm aware with Ringo, you don't have tickets or anything to display. So that's what you're saying, suggesting that somehow they'll need to be linked up with CBC enforcement. So that'll be another avenue to look into to make it all work, right? Okay. Right, thank you. Councillor Strawn.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Knight has said a lot of what I would like to, was thinking of saying, but I'm concerned that I think we should have a paper on the financial consequences of this contract, because at the moment it appears that it's working less than it should be. It took them 2 years or more to actually get it implemented, and they still don't seem to be able to manage it correctly. Therefore, are they actually in breach of contract? Because forgetting that what they say is their limitations, frankly, they don't seem to be performing. If I've understood the Ringo paperwork correctly, I think they're also intricately tied into Flowbird. And if I was being very cynical, I'd say that Ringo are trying to get rid of the machine so that everything is done on an app, so there's no machines. That is totally against what this council's decided in the past. The point about machines not working and then being able to pay online, that is an attempt to catch out people. I have a modern phone. This is absolutely the latest thing in just being able to make the telephone calls. But what it will do is would mean that I and others like me would have great difficulties in parking. I can understand some of the advantages of Ringo, that it could be, if it worked fairly. But if Flowbird can't get the basics of the machine right and give the protection, there is absolutely no way I can support Ringo in this current format and at this time. I think it's essential that we get all our acts lined up. We need to look at the Flowbird and their contract, because frankly, the time they took to implement it, from the discussions we had to tell them and repeat to them, if I remember correctly, what we required from the contract, although it was quite clearly set out. And having done some of the evaluation process with them, they have been a disappointment. There may be a few. Ringo have about 19 million users, allegedly, in the country. I think that's probably a grave overestimate in practical terms. I think that we've got to look after the consumer. One of the things that's in there, which I haven't heard answered so far today, is the charge for the use of the Ringo, because it looks as though it might be that we could potentially receive the full amount of the parking fee, and then Ringo would then charge the customer parker on top, which I think would be totally immorally incorrect. So I think we've got a lot of issues here, but I can't support it on the basis it's because I'm very cynical about the way Flowbird are managing things. And I think we should, unless Flowbird can actually come up and actually run the machines properly, we shouldn't even consider this further until we've got time and we can guarantee the safeguards, because I can almost guarantee that if we implement Ringo, that you'll suddenly find lots of people who can't use the Flowbird machines will be getting tickets and having the stress and strain of going through that, which I imagine CBC would quite like, because I think they collect all the revenue. And I think it'd be also very interesting to know how much revenue CBC receive from fines as they carry out our enforcement for us. So I can't support it on the basis of the information we've got at the moment, and I'm not prepared to support it if it means that people can't pay by cash or pay at the machines.
Thank you. Councillor Foster.
I take on board all the feedback, and I think there's some really good points there. When I first read the report, I actually felt that actually having an option that would be beneficial, so it gives an alternative for residents, so more convenient in some cases, my initial thoughts were that actually having the Ringo system would be beneficial in that you, because the current Flowbird system doesn't allow us to pay remotely, instead of having to get out of your car to pay for parking, for example, there is an option here. So I take on board all the feedback that we've got from members here, but there is a positive from this, were we to go along this route, that it does provide alternatives. That said, I completely agree about the point about you can't have an enforcement system in place that's fair if the car park machines go down, in which point members who are only able to pay by cash and are not willing to share those things on Ringo, then that's a problem. But I think my view would be we shouldn't automatically reject this. I think we should explore it, but rightly follow up with Flowbird to ensure that they are meeting their obligations of their contract. But don't just reject this out of hand, because I think it does give alternatives for residents where we don't currently offer them. As Councillor Knight has alluded to, we did look at the software, the Flowbird software and the remote software, and didn't feel that it was suitable. This might be an alternative, so let's not reject it, but look at options. So I guess what I'm saying is not the recommendation as laid out, but that we look at options rather than saying we're not considering it at all. It would be my view.
Okay, Councillor North and then Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Chairman. Firstly, it does seem to me that we should terminate the contract with Flowbird, as they're not really able to deliver the service that we are expecting, and that seems to me a fundamental justification for terminating the contract. We've had endless repetitions of this sort of debate over the years, and what I don't understand is there are many hundreds, possibly, certainly dozens of local authorities up and down the country charging for car parks. Some of them have got systems that work, and to name one that I do have some familiarity with, and that is Bedford Borough Council. I have never had problems whenever I've visited Bedford. There's a pay and display systems, there are pay for fixed period, there's a multi-storey car park. So why not try, as an approach to this, try and find another local authority, not necessarily Bedford, but somewhere else, not necessarily local, who have got a system that works, talk to them about it, if people are very happy, talk to other people using the same system, and if everybody's happy with it, then go for that. Instead of casting around trying to find yet another system that doesn't work, which is what Biggleswade Town Council seems to specialise in, non-functional car parking payment systems. Something there must be some sort of award for that, I think, possibly. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Thomas, and then Councillor Foster, and then we'll go.
Okay, I've had experience of the Ringo system and was never able to use it because the first thing you have to do is download the app. This is away from Biggleswade. I've never used it before. Couldn't get a connection. So I ended up moving car parks because it's just unusable. So if you can't get a connection, that's where you stop. If you can get a connection or you previously downloaded it, sometimes you just can't get online. They just don't answer, or you can't get a signal in different car parks around the country I'm talking about. So are we sure we've got good enough connections to all our car parks? Because Biggleswade is quite famous for not having good connections for a start. And also I've used just phone up systems where you just phone a number, get through, sort it out on the phone, put the phone down. So you can, even Councillor Strawn could manage that, I think. So that's worth a look as well. But there are numerous systems, as Councillor North says, and hospitals use them. Hitching has always been good. And that's Flowbird. So there's something they don't like about us, and not giving us the software. So I think Councillor Strawn might be on a good track when he says he's sceptical.
And yeah, Councillor Foster, do you have a?
I'm just conscious that what we're doing at the moment, the agenda item is specifically looking at the element about Ringo, and I think if we are minded to review the contract, that's a separate conversation. I think, albeit I understand the concern, and I genuinely do. If we feel that there are genuine concerns with the contract, then we need to deal with that as a separate entity to this. I think what our decision making process around this one is about what we want to do with Ringo, and that's the decision we should be focusing on. So I'm not disagreeing with anything we said about the contract, but if the agenda item is Ringo element, let's deal with that.
And Councillor Knight.
I just want to add some information. So the system that CBC used for parking enforcement, I just looked this up, is something called Imperial 360. So the requirement that you'd have to establish is that any new system integrates with Imperial 360, I believe. My view is the paper is a parking update. The recommendation is Ringo. But my view is we can take a broader stance on this, but I guess we need a resolution.
So the resolution, Councillor Barrett.
I was going to propose that we don't accept the proposition as it's laid out, but we ask officers to prepare a proposal for a solution that works for all of the demographics, whether it be cash card or online, and that's what we should be doing.
Okay. So you propose that we don't accept the recommendation. Sorry, could you just repeat that? The last part. Don't accept the recommendation.
We don't accept the proposal as laid out.
Yep.
But we ask officers to prepare a proper proposal, if you like, for a solution that works for all demographics, cash card and online. That.
Okay.
Because what we're trying to do is just put sticky tape over something that's already there, rather than coming up with the right solution going forward. We can live with it in the meantime.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Knight.
Thank you. I think that's reasonable. Could I propose an amendment to that then, which is everything you've set out, but also that we consult with our retained legal team and just see if there is a case for breach of contract, so that if we were to essentially make a claim, whether that's something we could reasonably do.
Okay, and do we have? Thank you, Councillor Knight. Anyone second that? Councillor Woodhead. Okay.
Councillor Barrett's proposal was limited. Councillor Knight suggested an add-on. So what are we voting on? That's what I was just trying to clarify, because I wasn't sure what had happened with Councillor Barrett.
I'm happy to accept that additional amendment into the proposal that as stated.
Just before we leave that, can I ask, is there a user group of Flowbird customers that we can consult or join with to see how other Flowbird customers are progressing and what their relationship with Flowbird is like?
I haven't come across one yet. My experience is limited to machines in Morecambe and Lancaster that are Flowbird and have a big sticker on them, not on my cars, saying out of order, or this machine no longer takes cash. Karim has experience of Flowbird working perfectly well in Italy. I have experience of it working perfectly well in Germany. It's a multinational operation. Why the hell they can't get Biggleswade right, I do not know.
Okay. Thank you. Right, moving on. Item 9B, run the Wade, for members to receive and consider a written report from the Community Development Manager. Over to you.
Thank you. I'll keep this very brief and to the point. It was a fabulous event. It was a huge success. It was double the numbers of the previous year, and it went so well they want to do it again. Not just next year, they want to do it every 6 months or so. And I would urge your support towards that. We want to encourage wider participation. We need to take a look at the minor traffic disruption we caused and try and find a better solution to the stop-go system we've got at the moment, which probably described as a traffic light system, but it won't involve traffic lights. It will involve lollipops, basically. But we'll put a full closure on briefly, rather than letting traffic go in dribs and drabs, because it was just too disruptive to do that. So with those conditions, it was a good example of partnership working. We'd like to run this again twice a year. And we want to broaden the appeal. I mean, the appeal at the moment has doubled in the year. I think it could be even bigger next time. And I think that's to be encouraged. But obviously, the bigger it gets, the more we get into SAG considerations and the Marty's Law and all the other stuff. I mean, this time it was 499 people, I believe, because if you go over 500, you get into a shed load of legislation. It's going to go over that for sure next time.
Okay, thank you. Open to the floor. So Councillor Woodhead.
Thank you very much for the report. I was at the event as an observer, not a participant on this occasion. And I think on the whole, it worked very well. There was a great atmosphere in town. It was nice to see so many people there on relatively early on a Sunday morning. I think my only comment would be, I'd like to see the evidence of the demand rather for a twice a year event. I think possibly what makes Run the Wade so special is that it's now potentially turning into an annual event. Therefore, you've got the demand already, whereas having it maybe twice a year may dilute that. And I think there's an assertion that by having it twice, it may generate more people. Well, it might not. It might be the same people split in half. So that would be my only sort of anxiety about it. And I think keeping it an annual event actually then makes it a fixture. It makes it more likely to happen, etc., etc. So I think the rest of it's all fine, but I think twice a year is possibly too much, or there's not enough evidence to say why it would be suitable for twice a year.
Thank you. Councillor Strong.
Thank you, Chairman. I think we should take on board Councillor Woodhead's point about whether it should be once or twice a year. But I'm concerned about the financial and staffing implications for the council, because this is a big event. I've got no doubt that we had a number of staff who put in time for it at a cost to the town council. I think it's important that if we are supporting, I imagine that Jones are making some money out of doing it. I think at least we should be covering our costs of doing it in terms of organisation, etc., because I think we should be supporting it fully. It seems to be very successful, and I think it should be encouraged. But equally, I do think that if there's money being made by the organisers, that we should be actually getting recompense for our time and effort in covering it and covering staffing costs and some of our administration costs. I don't think that's at all unreasonable, particularly if it's successful. And we might be mindful that at some stage in the future, there may be a need for change of organisers, and we may need to step in at that stage to consider doing it if that was the case. So I'd like to know the financial implications to the council and hopefully seek some kind of covering our basic expenses.
Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you. I think the total expenses was 2 of us for 8 hours each. One of the other things we might want to consider is that you have spin-offs around it and you build a wider event. So it's not just the run, but you can have a lot of bolt-ons around the town centre on the same occasion.
Okay, thank you. Back to Councillor Strawn.
Can I come back on that? I appreciate the comments, and it may not be a great deal of time, but I think we need to understand the financial consequences. Once we know the financial consequences, if we can make a decision. Without knowing the financial consequences, we can't.
Okay, thank you. So, Councillor Foster.
I'll just get, Mr. Campbell sort of highlighted the fact that if it goes over 499, that creates a whole different situation. And I think all of us would like to understand what that might involve, the council's responsibility, what the organiser's responsibility, and if we're concerned about that being the case in future, then let's get a very clear understanding of what it might be, so that members are as well informed as possible of what it might, the impact might be.
The main consideration would be that we'd have to employ SIA approved stewards. They come in at about £16 an hour, and we'd probably need 4 of them.
Okay,
Right, so that then again sort of follows on from Councillor Strawn's point about then the at what point is it a town council event? If it's Jones's event supported by the town council, where does the responsibility for the financial, and don't get me wrong here, I'm fully supportive of the event, but if it turns into something larger, then there's the additional costs incurred by the council. And I think we need to make sure it's safe, but we need to understand sort of the implications.
Thank you. Councillor Knight.
Thank you. I think some really good points have been made. I mean, I don't understand the financial model, and I presume people, do they pay to enter, and you know, what is the revenue that's generated, and is there a surplus, and how's that surplus distributed? But I think, yeah, before I could support this, I would like to understand that model, because yeah, if it is generating a surplus, then we should make sure we wash our face if we have costs, and that includes paying for staff time.
Thank you. So, Councillor Barrett.
Sorry, I feel I'm sort of summarising things here, but I think we can note the success. I think we can support the idea of a double event in the year, but we need to understand the financial and legal implications of the town council. So that would be amending the second item. And we would support the encouragement of participation and broadening the appeal, would be my view of the three items that are laid out here. And the final little comment is just a comment on the second line. It says, run the Wade 5 kilometre half marathon. I might actually be in it next year then if it's only, if every half marathon is only 5 kilometres.
Okay.
It's just a suggestion to get through those 3 points, yes.
All right. Anyone seconding? Happy to second that, yep, okay.
May I suggest an amendment or an addition to it, that there'd be an additional point that officers report to the council the financial impact of the event and the various implications legally and financially.
Okay. Yep, that's agreed, yeah?
Happy to accept that.
So the amended version by Councillor Strawn, so should we go to voting? So all those in favour? That's unanimous. Yep. Excellent. Item 9C, twinning update for members to receive and consider a written report from the Community Development Manager. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. This is a bit sort of shutting of stable doors after the horse has bolted. The event has already occurred. I think you're all involved with it in one shape or form. It was a very successful gathering, bookending the Victory Day celebrations. We were honoured to have guests from our long-standing twin town of Bermondsey, and also potential new partners from the French towns of Bali and Noisy-le-Roi, which are they are to Paris what Biggleswade is to London, really, in terms of being commuter satellites above all. Everyone got on absolutely wonderfully, famously. I think there was a great spirit of friendship, collaboration and such like. The Mayor's speeches on the Victory Day, considering they came from 4 different sources and 3 different countries, were absolutely marvellous in their sort of overlap and the way they seemed synchronized when in fact they weren't. They were all individually drafted and presented, but they all had the same spirit and values expressed throughout. There's some very good and cordial informal gatherings at the Crown on the Friday, and a more formal gathering at Stratton House Hotel on the Saturday evening. The Ivor Sprinter minibus was commandeered for the occasion, took them down to Jordan's Mill and then did a tour of the peripheral areas of Biggleswade, so they've got a fuller impression of the town rather than just the town centre, which they also were fully introduced to. It's I think a wonderful shared experience. I think everyone got on so well that there's real mileage and value in taking these training links forward and exploring more formal relationships with Bali and Razi. And in future, we enable members, officers and citizens to participate in developing the international twinning activities. I guess the only thing standing in the way is going to be the budget.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any questions, Councillor Woodhead?
Thank you, and thanks for the report. I think the only councillor who was there from kind of the start to finish with the twinning things from the Friday all the way through to Saturday evening. I just want to add a couple of comments really. It was great to see a number of councillors involved, both on the Friday night in the day and some along on the Saturday evening as well. A particular thanks to Councillor Strawn, Councillor Agnew, and Councillor Russell for being involved in that as well directly. The other bit of the twinning bit, which didn't make the report, but I think I wanted to draw attention to, was the planting of a ginkgo tree by member of Erlensay Council, Councillor Renata Tonica, and that's now placed in Kitelands Park as well. And hopefully it will grow and flourish as the relationship with Erlensay has done. So I had the pleasure of planting that with Renata as part of the twinning activities, if you like, on the Saturday. So do go and have a look at that when it's sort of sprouting along in due course. I think Mr. Campbell summed it up quite well. I think there were some very useful and interesting conversations, kind of continuing with the Erlensay ones and possibly the new ones with the two French mayors in particular. They are very keen from their perspective as well. I think there's a number of synergies, I think, between Biggleswade and the other towns and potential things we can build upon. Yeah, I think there's things around potentially schools and youth groups and voluntary activities and all the rest of it that could be built upon in terms of a potential twin. But as Mr. Campbell was saying, it's really down to where I guess we are with any potential budget going forward or how that might be funded. But I think on the whole, it's a positive and welcome thing, and we should encourage it, but notwithstanding the obvious questions.
Thank you. Anybody else know? So shall we move to recommendations? That members note the programme of events and meet with the delegations from Erlensay, Bailly de la Roi and Noisy, explore research and develop potential formal twinning links with the two said, enable members, officers, citizens to participate in developing international twinning activities. So is that all for that recommendation? Any? Oh, sorry. Yes. Sorry. Yeah. Could propose and second. Okay. Now, for that recommendation, is that everyone? Yeah. Unanimous. Excellent. Thank you, guys. And item 9D. I think this is going to be proposed by Councillor Barrett, so over to you.
Thank you. I won't read out the text. Hopefully everyone's had an opportunity to read that, but in essence, this is about renaming this committee from Town Centre Management Committee to the Town Management Committee to better reflect really the wider role of this committee in the town by amending its title and the supporting documentation that we have in the council.
Thank you. Open to the Councillor Foster.
I welcome the suggestion that we review the name of the committee. I think that's quite appropriate to do so. And I completely agree with the fact that the emphasis is focusing on the middle of the town, when in reality there are other elements to the committee. I wanted to reflect on the fact that this committee and it also deals with events in relation to the town. So the light switch on, remembrance, and all the other events we've spoken about and we'll be coming on to shortly. So whilst I accept the premise of it being town management, my suggestion would be that we revised it, and called it something along the lines of town and events management. So we include events within the name of the committee. I don't want to make a change of the name for the sake of it, but I think we should, if we're talking about reflecting what the committee is actually about, I think we could include events without really having a problem.
Thank you. Councillor Strawn and then Councillor Alban.
I note the observations there. I think the important thing is that we actually not only rename it to reflect what the committee should be doing, but we also need to look at our terms of reference. So I think that is probably the name. I think town centre. I think the centre needs to come out. I think because we've got a town and the town centre is very limited. So, but I think town management would cover everything, provided we also reviewed the terms of engagement and responsibilities to take into events such as Christmas lights, entertainment or whatever. And I think that's probably, I think if we start adding events, and then we've then got the question of what if it's something other than an event and things like that. So I think if we keep it, make a recommendation to council that we change the name to Town Management Committee and that we review our terms of reference, I think that should hopefully answer all points, but that's just my opinion.
Thank you. Councillor Alban.
Yeah, I agree. We should look at the name, and I agree that it should be a recommendation to council, because this committee can't simply change its name, and also the scheme of delegations does need looking at. This committee seems to be dealing with business relations now, the relations with the business community. That's not reflected in the scheme of delegations as it stands at the moment. I know we only reviewed it in November, but that seems to be missing to me. I looked at other councils. They have committees that serve a similar function to this one. The Dunstables, for instance, is called the Community Services Committee, and that seems to reflect what this committee does. It also aligns with the officer's title, which is the officer who is more aligned with this committee, with Community Development Manager. So that's my suggestion. But yeah, it's not for this committee to decide any of that. It's but we can recommend it to council.
Thank you. I believe we have Councillor Skilton online who wishes to.
Yeah, hi, thank you. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. Yeah, really, I was just going to check that we had the power to rename the committee, but obviously if we're recommending it to council, then that's all right. And I just wanted to suggest a name, really, because I think town management doesn't really capture everything. It could sort of mean anything, really. So I was sort of thinking along the lines of maybe Community and Business Development Committee, because that kind of captures the community and business element of what we do, and does mirror the title of Mr. Campbell, which primarily deals with things for this committee. So that was just my thoughts on it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Right. Okay, Councillor North.
Well, just to pick up on Councillor Skilton's suggestion, which I think is very good, Community and Business Development Committee. Sounds wonderful. But that will be shortened to CBD, which I believe is some form of cannabis medical treatment, isn't it?
Can we just swap business and community round in the title then, and just to solve that problem?
To be clear, then, so what's the proposal that we call it?
Right.
Thank you. So I appreciate the aspirations that Councillor Skilton has, but I sort of worry that we forget our core remit. So the roots of this committee are, car parks, some highway issues, the market, the Christmas lights, things like that. And yeah, we do want to develop Biggleswade, absolutely, but I don't think business development is really our core responsibility. That feels like we're trying to turn it into something very different, which would have very different terms of reference. And I don't think we have a track record of developing business. Now, we might want to look at how we do that, and I think a later item, the business forum, sort of aspires to that. but I don't think we can make such a big change in one go. And I think that would have to be a more gradual change if we were to do that.
Councillor Barrett.
I agree completely. I think Town Management Committee is what it should be called as a title, and I think all the other things we're talking about should be included in the terms of reference. It's a mistake you often make in these situations, is you try and get everything you're doing in the title, when really it should be in the terms of reference, because that's really the key remit of the committee. The title should mean what it actually does. Town Management Committee. I wouldn't include events, I wouldn't include business, I wouldn't include development in that. It should be in the terms of reference so we know what we're actually doing.
Councillor Foster.
On that basis, and I agree with Councillor Skilton, I think the town management just feels a bit too, it doesn't, it's either too broad or it's not focused enough. I actually quite like Councillor Alban's Community Services Committee proposal. Rather than the town manager, but I appreciate there's going to be some thoughts around this. So my proposal is probably along the lines of we need to have some options that are put forward for full council to consider, and we have some proper thought process behind it. In the meantime, before we come to full council, we've then got an option to come to Mr. Campbell and actually say these are the reasons for that. It's then not, we're not recommending it. It comes from the options that are provided.
Thank you. Councillor Strawn.
For the sake of clarity, Councillor Foster appears to be indicating that we effectively agree that we need the change name of the committee to reflect what it does, but we also need to look at what it does. So if we could have something on the basis that this committee is minded to change its name to the Community Service Committee, for want of a better description, but subject to a review of its purposes to report back in full to the next meeting of this committee, so that we've actually got the right name for the committee at that stage, but also the terms of reference of what we're covering. Then we can make the recommendation to council after that. At the moment, to make a recommendation to council, we're not quite sure on the correct name. And secondly, I think we need to look at actually what this committee's current remit is and compare it with what we're now doing, even though possibly in some cases we're outside the remit.
And Councillor Knight.
Thank you. So, I mean, I think when we think about services, some of the services are effectively provided by the PLOS committee. So I don't think we can have a monopoly on that. I also thought about town operations committee, because actually, you know, arguably a lot of the stuff is divided between PLOS and TOC. But I think the right answer, you're right, is actually for officers to spend some time thinking about this and make some sensible suggestions. And I think you're absolutely right. A short name doesn't have to capture everything. It has to indicate the clear space and division between PLOS and what this group does. But fundamentally, it's the terms of reference that really describe what we do and what we aspire to do.
I think when I came into this 18 months ago, it was very much around community economic development. But it then became community economic development plus markets, plus car parks, plus other things that didn't have a home. And that's how the job has grown so much. But I think at the core of it is still community development managers with a focus on community and economic development, plus the other things which I have taken responsibility for.
Okay, thank you. I think for me, community services brings to mind what people get sentenced to when they've been a bit naughty. But yeah, sorry, Councillor Strawn.
I think Mr. Campbell's comments are quite apposite in the sense that he's been taken on a role with a certain description, which wasn't quite within the description of the town centre management committee. So I think that's another reason for looking at our remit, is so that it actually develops, because the role that Mr. Campbell's taken on from his description of it is not quite the role that would fit with town centre management and what we actually do as a committee. So I think it's a combination of looking at what Mr. Campbell's been doing and achieving over the last year and a bit, to reflect the type of things that have been happening. And then we can look at how we'd actually get our terms of reference together. But I think it's premature to make a decision tonight on exactly what the committee should be called and in its terms of reference. So I think we do, I would recommend that we ask the officers to go away and consider an appropriate name to come back to this committee together with up-to-date terms of reference, taking into account our current terms of reference and actually what we're now doing as a committee.
Thank you.
Can I just, so that should go to council rather than this committee, because council will decide on the scheme of delegations.
I think we'll get a few various names, all right? And then we go to council.
It's got to go to council anyway, but I'm not sure we want to put it to council at this stage because we haven't got to the decision. It needs a report to this committee to make a recommendation to council, in my view.
So we've got the proposal and seconded, right? Okay, so everyone for Councillor Strawn's proposal? Is that everyone unanimous? Yes? Excellent. Thank you. Items for information. 10A, business forum update for members to note a written update from the Community Development Manager.
Just a quick update to remind you all that the second Biggleswade Business Conference event is going to be held on Friday the 25th in the morning at the Orchard Centre. We look forward to seeing many of you there. Some of you will be speaking, others facilitating. You've got the agendas there in the papers. The numbers are looking a little less than the last time. I think we've hit peak holiday season, which is a bit of a shame. We're, I think, pushing 40 now, as opposed to, I think we had a census of 60 last time. The key thing was to be able to get the MP available to speak. This is actually the day that Parliament breaks up, so we were lucky to get him. But it does obviously clash with a lot of other people's holidays, school holidays and the rest of it. So we're progressing with that on Friday the 25th. Maybe not quite as big as last time, but the quality will make up for us, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you. Councillor Knight.
Thank you. So thank you. I think this is excellent, and I'm really glad it's going ahead. I move that we note it, but I think the only suggestion I have is I love the fact it's an open invitation on Facebook, so anyone could go, which is great. It's disappointing that the take-up isn't quite as high as perhaps we would like. Perhaps in the future, I wonder whether there's an opportunity to think about the messaging, because when I read Biggleswade Business Forum, for me that means it's an invite for established people in business. And if I was perhaps in business, I would go. If maybe I was thinking of opening a shop, maybe I wanted to invest in Biggleswade or one of the vacant premises or do some sort of startup thing, you know, maybe I'm a sole trader and I don't know quite how to. Would there be any sense in trying to broaden the appeal not only to established businesses, but actually people who are thinking of opening a butcher's shop or whatever it might be, and trying to get people who aren't in business yet to go? I don't know, but I just wonder whether there's an opportunity to try to appeal to those people in addition.
Thank you. Hand up, yeah, Councillor Strawn.
Yes, as far as attendees are concerned, I haven't seen it on Facebook, but I'd hope that Mr. Campbell will actually let those who he knows are attending, give them directions as to how they can park up there, because that is one of the major issues with the Orchard Community Centre is the parking. So I think it'd be very helpful if attendees could have some guidance as to where they're able to park and the conditions, just so that they know if they're not able to walk there.
Thank you. Councillor Foster.
Just pick it up on Councillor Knight's point, actually, and given that we're sort of 10 days away from the event, something like that, there's still an opportunity to broaden the communication. And I know we've got a great comms team that could pick up on that and sort of open up other options. So where perhaps we're looking at other options. And I agree, if it's business forum, it does sound a little bit more corporate rather than actually inviting, even if that's not the intention. It feels that way. And then maybe if we're trying to attract a few more people and trying to attract a bit of interest, maybe social media could be used even more than it currently is.
Thank you. And Councillor Barrett.
Just really, I think it's a very good event and it was very good last time. Just to remind everybody that when we agreed for this event at council last year, I think the original proposal was that we would drive this in its outset. Then at some stage, we'd look to the business community to be actually driving it themselves and we would support it. So at some stage, perhaps after this event, we may want to take a look at it and decide whether we're driving it, where most of the people are going to be there. And if the attendance isn't very good, we may wish to look to see whether it is worth carrying on with it, because that was our original proposal, was that we would start to try and get the community together, big business, middle-sized business, small business. We get quite a few small businesses coming. I think we've got one or more bigger businesses, but I think that's the bit we haven't done very well on for different reasons, no fault of officers in encouraging them there. So I think we just need to have a little bit of a review of this after this event to decide what we do with the next one.
Thank you, Councillor Barrett. Councillor Woodhead.
Thank you. Just quick point. Now, I agree with what Councillor Barrett's just said. I think that was the intention. We were trying to sort of spin it out for to coin a phrase in due course. So we need to, as we would always do, I hope we would review this anyway after an event. Just really just pointing out, I think on terms of speakers and presentations on point 3, I'm particularly pleased that Smith Myers have agreed to speak and participate. And for those that are not aware, they did win a King's Award for Enterprise fairly recently, which is a very, very impressive thing to get for a smallish type business on the business park. So very much looking forward to hearing what Andrew Munro's got to say. But I'm pleased you're able to get them on board, because I think that might energise some of the participants as well.
Thank you. Councillor Strawn.
Yes. An observation on Councillor Barrett's point. We did have a Chamber of Trade which was very successful at one stage, and I believe still has funds in its pot, even though it's virtually extinct, rather like the dodo. But I believe that there are 1 or 2 members of the Chamber of Trade who are still around, and I would hope that they're at least being invited to come along and be present, because they may be able to have some input from their records and things to help Mr. Campbell and this develop into the future, even if they aren't in a position to do so themselves. And maybe the Chamber of Trade Fund, if there is one, could go towards the pot for actually helping a new group set up, if that's the case.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we've struggled to know whether to call this a forum, a conference, or an event, and I think we've used every one of those terms at one stage or other. And regarding the who it's attracted, we have got an awful lot of small businesses along, and just to quote a couple, you know, we've got a guy from a pizza restaurant, we've got a curry takeaway. There's lots of small individual businesses that seem to have found it and not been deterred by the word forum. I only wish that we had been successful in appearing more corporate and getting some of the bigger players to attend.
Thank you. Right, so just note that now, right? We'll just move on to, yep.
Can I just ask, does everyone know that they're meant to attend? There's a couple of named people on here, but I think. But are there particular councils that are expected to attend on the day, or is it just an open forum?
Because everyone who's attending knows, right? I guess, yeah.
Question.
I believe they do. Has it been communicated to everyone who's expected to take part?
Those I thought had been sort of headhunted and identified, and I hoped been asked politely, are the Mayor, Chair of TCM, and Gary, because he's a good facilitator, but also because he's Deputy Mayor. sorry, Deputy Chair of TCM.
Clerk?
I think the answer to your question is the invite has gone to all members, so all members have been invited. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Item 10B, events update for members to note a written report update from the Deputy Administration and HR Manager.
Thank you, Chairman. The report's quite self-explanatory. I just wanted to give an update of events that we've held. For example, the first Easter egg hunt back in April, that was quite successful. The Victory Day, as we've discussed earlier, that was very successful as well. And the upcoming events for 2025 and early 2026, I've listed for you. They're all on our website. I've included events that we're planning for the Mayor. We've got, it says to be confirmed, but we've actually confirmed the dates for the quiz. It's the 18th of September. We have Remembrance Sunday, the Christmas lights, and some other events that we're planning for 2026 for the Mayor. I haven't included events that we've got in the pipeline because there will be another report that comes to TCM in October on events that we've got planned for 2026 with their financial breakdowns, etc., for you to decide on then.
Thank you. Any questions? So, Councillor Strawn.
Yes, delighted to see all these events that are coming up. I don't know how we're promoting them because, an example, I was suddenly thinking that if we notified the people attending the business forum of some of the events, such as the Mayor's Charity Quiz Night, you might get some of the businesses in the town actually attending and putting in teams. So I think there's an opportunity there for this kind of thing to be promoted by looking at businesses to get teams in, because the Mayor's quiz has been very well supported. But I think if we can get some quiz teams in there and open it up a bit more to the public, to the community, and say just those who attend the business forum be invited to put in a team, that will A, raise money for the Mayor's charity, and B, hopefully it will start an integration and making businesses feel part of the town. So I think it's just if we can look at how we promote it, because I think, yes, great programme, but can we look at ways of attracting more people to commit so that it isn't a team of 16 councillors with guests?
What I can do for the business forum is maybe do a flyer of forthcoming events and highlight that the Mayor's Charity quiz night is on the 18th of September, and this is how you book a table and a team of 6, etc. So if I do a small flyer that can be handed out to the people attending the business forum of our upcoming events, then maybe, because also I believe there should be a flyer about corporate sponsorship. That will also be handed out as well. It has gone out to businesses, but we can include that on the day as well.
Perhaps try and sign it up there and then as well. Councillor Strawn.
So I may come back on that. An observation about how we get to communicate with businesses. I think the difficulty is lots of firms don't necessarily have a contact directly on their website for Biggleswade. They may have other offices, or so it doesn't go to Biggleswade. So it's getting it so it's known in Biggleswade rather than going to Bristol or London or Cambridge or wherever, where Biggleswade, the first thing they see Biggleswade is, where on earth is that? Is it a music hall joke? So I think if we've got to find, if there's ways that we can find to get local contacts, and the business forum is another example of that, where we may get some businesses along, but if we've got the bigger businesses coming along, hopefully we can find out the local contact rather than a central office contact.
So, perhaps maybe we could start collating like a list of database of these local contacts, right? We probably may have restarted.
Yes, we have a database of businesses, which we've used obviously to push the invitation out. So yes, we can use that database, yes.
Councillor Foster, sorry, and then Councillor Parrott.
I just want to make the point about the Easter egg hunt. I think it was really one of those events where we weren't really clear how successful it was going to be. I think we were very lucky with the weather, I think, and the fact that we had the Punch and Judy, and there were a couple of other things that were attractions. The fact that it was at Franklin's, which allowed then parents to bring their children, the children were entertained. So it's a perfect location for it, and perfect weather. And absolutely, yeah, we should be doing it again. And I think it was, there's always a risk with these things. The weather does make a difference. We were very lucky, but we absolutely should be doing it again. And I just welcome, obviously, the fact that we've got all these other events coming forward, and then anything else. So it's good, really good to see it.
I agree. Yep, Councillor Barrett.
It was just, again, to remind officers that the offer's been made before, that a number of us around this table do have contacts in a lot of corporate organisations. And if you're trying to get into some of these companies, then please make use of the members, because some of us do actually know some of the people. But we can't just give you a list of all big businesses for you to just go through. It's a case of, I want to get into Marks and Spencer's, I want to talk to someone from Tesco's, I want to talk to someone from this organisation, and often our LinkedIn's may actually find someone that may be the contact you want to get them to one of these forums or other events. So just make use of our skills.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Right. Moving on, we've got item 10C, banking provision update. Members requested that this be a standing item on the TCM agenda. At the TCM meeting held on the 15th April, members received an update from the Town Clerk and Chief Executive. Since this meeting, there has been no further information received from Cash Access UK. Banking provision will be discussed further at the upcoming business forum on the 25th of July. So yeah, noted. 10. Yep. Item 10D, Biggleswade in Bloom, Best Garden in Biggleswade competition. This is something that I have proposed to launch, but for once a formal motion is submitted, it will be circulated to members and included on the next TCM agenda as an item for members to consider. Okay, and number 11, public opens. Oh, sorry. Yeah, is there any comments on that, on the Biggleswade Bloom? Sorry.
For me, yes, it is going to come onto the next agenda, but the general principle I think is a good idea. So yeah, let's anything that can sort of enhance the environment and make things look pretty, for want of a better way of putting it, add a little competition in there. So let's see what the proposal is that comes forward.
Thank you.
Well, because we had discussed it before the meeting, if you like, we could work together and I could write the report, because I've had a couple of ideas.
Yep.
Where I wanted to do something similar to the Chelsea Flower Show.
Yep.
Why can't we have Biggleswade Flower Show, where we don't only have Biggleswade in Bloom, where people decorate their gardens, but we have it where shops can also decorate outside their shops with flowers. So kind of include businesses as well as people who want to have gardens. And we could open it up where people fill in applications so we know exactly who they are, and then we could judge them accordingly.
That sounds good. Yeah, we welcome a report on that. That'll be very helpful. Councillor Strawn.
That's just an observation on that. There have been shop window competitions in the past in the town. I think Carnival and Chamber of Trade have possibly run them in the past, but I think the more we can get, that's getting the businesses involved, the more of those kinds of things we can do, the better. It's just a question of which committee oversees them, because the Biggleswade in Bloom one struck me as it might be more suitable for PLOS rather than this committee in terms of the nature of the issue involved.
We can discuss that at a later date. Councillor
Just
Woodhead.
as an addition, I did also think that perhaps rather than just being gardens, we could go for street, could go for estate, we could even go for ward, in which case you might get some competition between the different wards.
Certainly a huge potential there. Yeah, Councillor Woodhead.
It was just a comment saying, to follow up on Councillor Strawn's point about shop windows. We obviously had a sort of smallish competition around Victory Day the other week, and there are about, I think, 8 or 10 entries all told, and quite a bit of competition between the different shopkeepers in a positive way. And you know, I think it was nice to sort of add an extra thing through the summer months, as it were. So I think you'll probably find that this will be embraced by most businesses in town if you get it going, and we'll see what the paper looks like.
Excellent. And Councillor Strawn.
Perhaps Councillor Woodhead can answer this question. Who won? Perhaps it should be publicised.
Well, I stood in the town square and spoke quite loudly, so it's pretty public. But we didn't really have an overall winner. We just had a number. We had a sort of, I think it was 4 in total, wasn't it?
Yes,
Fonda,
it was.
sorry.
It was on our social media
Yeah.
that it was Guns Bakery, the Little Retreats,
That's right.
Frankie's of Biggleswade, and Woodman. and
Woodman's
Son.
funeral directors. Yeah. They were
Perhaps it
4.
could also be on our website if it isn't already.
Okay, we can look at that. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, right. So moving on now to item 11, public open session. There's no one here, no one online. No. Excellent. Okay, now come to. I think, do we vote now to go to close the meeting and go into exempt? Or we- Okay, all right. So is that? So yeah. All in favour? Yep. Excellent. All right. Yeah.